Her period of isolation was incredibly tough, and she nearly lost her mind. As time passed, the pair stayed confined without any justice. Their children were left alone at home and needed to look after themselves. The oldest child took on the task of feeding and supporting the family, while Mandela attempted to send them letters. However, only 2 letters were permitted annually, and they weren't even getting those. Winnie, meanwhile, faced almost constant daily harassment and was stripped of fundamental rights. Even simple things, like using the toilet or having a day in her cell free from physical attacks, were impossible for her. One typical day on the island, Mandela encountered the colonel again and spoke with him. Mandela started politely, but then questioned why the colonel stayed in his position when he clearly didn't need the work, given his family's 5 farms. The colonel said nothing. Later that day, after all the inmates were back in their cells, long pants were handed out as a form of appreciation. Everyone was glad to finally switch out their shorts. And it was all thanks to Mandela. On that very day, as the inmates performed their usual work, a warden gave Mandela a telegram. He read it, and it announced that his firstborn son had died in a sudden, tragic motorbike crash. Mandela's heart shattered, and he wept right there, crushed that he had let his family down. Soon after, he went to the offices and asked for permission to bury his son, as it was his duty as a father. However, they made it clear that exceptions weren't permitted, especially not for prisoners convicted of terrorist acts. Later, Walter visited Mandela in his cell to offer his sympathy. Mandela, though, was devastated, saying he was slowly losing everyone: his mother, his son, and his wife. In 1970, after 16 months of detention, Winnie was released from prison. She appeared pale and distant as she returned to her neighborhood, where locals gathered to cheer her name. Thankfully, she found her 2 daughters safe and grown, and she embraced them. When reporters inquired if she had any comments, she expressed genuine gratitude to her captors and the authorities.
Thank you. And I say to the government, thank you.
By June 1976, further unrest erupted across the country, protesting the apartheid system. Hundreds were apprehended and incarcerated. A new group of inmates arriving at Robben Island then informed Mandela about the wider national uprising, and he conveyed to them that collectively, they remained hopeful and stronger. Mandela is now much older, nearly an old man. More time has gone by. His daughter came to visit him. She keeps him updated on his children's lives, and his daughter told him she supports him even though she didn't grow up with him. Soon, a massive protest launched in 1981 to liberate Mandela and South Africa. In 1982, after 18 years on Robben Island, the government reacted by moving Mandela to Cape Town Prison from Robben Island. Their new cells are not as terrible as the previous ones. Instead, it's like a penthouse with a huge mirror inside the room. However, Mandela seemed to notice the mirror wasn't actually a mirror, but rather a 2-way mirror where wardens were watching from behind, listening to every word prisoners were exchanging. As for Winnie, she is now an older, more seasoned woman with her decisions. She is continuing her husband's legacy by leading a community of protesters. Her children watched her lead a crowd, and they looked somewhat worried. But she didn't appear any weaker this time and motivated the crowd by telling them that even if they didn't have AK-47, they certainly had petrol and matches to burn down the town. There were some informers among them who reported the meeting to the white supremacist officers, and when she made sure to address them as well, she declared they would hunt them down and take revenge to get justice. The next thing you know, the community gathered in a group, some beating the informers to death on the ground, while others burned them alive by pouring gasoline on them and lighting a fire. Explosions, gunshots, and screams filled one road, and the town descended into complete chaos and disorder. Shortly after, the white president of South Africa made an offer to release Mandela if he agreed to renounce violence. Mandela did not respond immediately. This gave him the chance to receive a visit from his wife. This time, the couple were permitted to have physical contact.